What's up, everybody, and how are ya? Welcome back to the Arya Habibi show. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for your lovely comments that you left under the video last week. I'm so happy to learn that I was able to teach a couple of people about Tupac. If, ladies and gentlemen, you want to check that video out first, I'll leave the link right up here for you guys to check it out. And I'll also leave it for you guys at the end of the video so you can click and fully watch that and catch up. Because, like, why have you not been catching up to my episodes? What's your excuse? In this week's video, we're going to be taking a look at the beautiful country of Canada. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, because on July 1st, the day that this video is airing, Canada is actually celebrating its 152nd birthday. And damn, baby, Canada for 152, I totally tapped that ass. So happy birthday, Canada. I love you with all my heart. And because of you, today I'm going to be sharing 50 facts about Canada that you may or may not have known. Depends how much you paid attention in high school, I guess. If you learned something new about Canada, I want you to comment that down below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, like, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who is Canadian or even likes to know more about Canada. I want you guys to share this video like crazy today, because today is the day that we need to celebrate the beautiful country that we live in. And I know that I usually do a star wipe before we start, but you know what? Because it's Canada Day, Maple Leaf wipe. Starting with Canadian fact number 1, did you know that I was actually born in Canada myself? That's right, I was actually born in Pointe-Claire, Quebec, and thank you, Canada, for giving me the best country in the world to grow up in. Canada is the world's second largest country, second largest only behind Russia. The Trans-Canada Highway is the longest highway in the world, which is over 7,604 kilometers or 4,725 miles in length. Canada is the largest producer of natural uranium in the world. And this is a fact that I didn't know. I didn't realize we have so much uranium in Canada. It honestly just makes us look like we're super bad guys in the movie, like we have the most uranium in the world. We will launch the nukes, like, at any moment, but I didn't know about that. License plates in the Northwest Territories of Canada are actually shaped like polar bears. And no, Coca-Cola is not a sponsor. Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world's lakes combined. Canada's capital, Ottawa, is the second coldest capital in the world after Moscow in Russia. There are many famous Canadians, including Justin Bieber, Michael Bublé, James Cameron, Jim Carrey, Celine Dion, Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams, Mike Myers, Ryan Reynolds, William Shatner, Drake, and The Weeknd, just to name a few. And that's to name a few because I didn't even mention Alanis Morissette, the Bare Naked Ladies, and you know what? I'm just gonna stop. The highest tides in the world occur in the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick. Located in Ontario, Wasaga Beach is the longest freshwater beach in the world. Most Canadians, however, remember Wasaga Beach as, oh bro, that was a hell of a good time, eh? Canada's common border with the United States forms the world's largest land border. The longest street in the world is named Yonge Street, which is located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, with 1,896 kilometers or 1,178 miles. The third country in space after the US and the USSR was Canada, which was considered to have the most advanced space program in 1962. Canada has the world's largest coastline at 202,080 kilometers. Alert in Nunavut Territory is the northernmost permanent settlement in the world. Nunavut takes up 1/5 of Canada's total land area. The Hotel de Glace is built every year in Quebec using 400 tons of ice and 12,000 tons of snow. Every summer it melts away, and every winter it is rebuilt. Ontario is believed to be home to the world's smallest jail, measuring only 24.3 square meters. This 4x5 meter by 6 meter building in Creemore, Ontario was erected in 1892 at a cost of $425.20. Its first resident was a black cow. What the fuck? Its first resident was a black cow, but most of the guests were incarcerated overnight to dry out. So basically, the first person to be jailed in the world's smallest jail was a cow. As much as I'm trying to make you look good, Canada, that's a weird one. I can't lie. Forests take up to 31% of Canada. 2.4 million reindeer live in Canada. And no, none of them are named Rudolph. Canada produces 1.5% of the world's food, but only consumes 0.6%. 77% of the world's maple syrup is made in Quebec, Canada. So to the rest of the world who's been eating our maple syrup, ya Eggos, ya pancakes, you're welcome. Because that's the best shit in the world, I'll tell you that right now. There is actually a town in Quebec named Saint-Louis du Haha. It is the only town in the world with 2 exclamation marks. Lee is the most common surname in Canada. Porky's is the most successful Canadian movie ever made.
I mean, it was a big year for babies. Porky's had come out.
Yeah, I'm sure I was just another Porky's baby.
The highest temperature recorded in Canada was 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees Fahrenheit at both Middale and Yellowgrass, Saskatchewan on July 5th of 1937. And I guess that part of Saskatchewan's called Yellowgrass because it's so sunny all the time that there's just no green grass anywhere. The grass ain't greener on the other side. The lowest temperature recorded is minus 63 degrees Celsius or minus 81 degrees Fahrenheit at Snag, Yukon Territory on February 3rd of 1947. Vancouver has the lowest obesity rate with 11.7% and Toronto is the second lowest with 15.6%. Manitoulin Island in Lake Huron is the world's largest island surrounded by fresh water. Mount Logan in the Yukon is the highest mountain in Canada, which is 5,959 meters and is growing few millimeters every year due to volcanic activity. The most populous province in Canada is Ontario with over 14 million people. In 1891, Dr. James Naismith invented the sport basketball. Initially, they used to play with peach baskets and pop the ball out with a broom or stick between every point. Other popular sports invented in Canada include hockey, lacrosse, and five-pin bowling. And why five-pin bowling? Like, why? Is it easier? Is it, The largest lake completely in Canada is Great Bear Lake in the Northwest Territories. Canada has hosted the Olympic Games 3 times, the Summer Olympics in 1976 in Montreal, and the Winter Olympics in 1988 in Calgary, Alberta, and again in 2010 in Vancouver, British Columbia. Canada's beaver is the second largest rodent in the world, weighing up to 60 pounds after the capybara of South America, which weighs up to 100 pounds. Did you know peanut butter is actually Canadian? Montreal pharmacist Marcellus Gilmore Edson envisioned his nutty ointment-like product, patented in 1884 as a food option for people who weren't able to chew. And once again, we gave you maple syrup, we give you peanut butter. What kind of breakfast would you guys have without Canadians?
I'll stick with just plain white bread, thank you very much. Maybe with a
glass of water on the side for dipping.
Montreal's Canadian Lady Corset Company first licensed the trademark Wonder Bra in 1939, and then renamed the company Wonder Bra in 1961. The game Trivial Pursuit was actually invented in Canada in 1979 by Scott Abbott, a Montreal sports editor, and Chris Haney, a photo editor. Did you know that the odometer was actually invented in Canada? Road trips were never the same after 1854 when Nova Scotia inventor Samuel McKean created a device that measured distance with every revolution of a carriage wheel. So to all of you guys who, have leases and have gone over your kilometers and don't know what to do, well, guess what? You got a Canadian to thank for that. The egg carton was invented by newspaper editor Joseph Coyle of Smithers, British Columbia, who found an excellent new use for the paper in 1911. Filmmakers Graham Ferguson, Roman Kreuter, and Robert Kerr and engineer Robert C. Shaw founded IMAX in 1967. Kreuter produced the first IMAX film in 1970. Did you know that Macintosh apples were Canadian as well? In 1811, farmer John McIntosh began crafting a wild apple tree in his South Dundas farm. People began enjoying the fruits of his labor in 1835. So that took him from 1811 all the way to 1835 to make Macintosh apples. That man dedicated a solid 20 years of his life to make sure we got some of the best apples in the world. And this is what I mean, man. These are the things that you would have never known. They say American is apple pie. Well, it's not with the Macintosh apple now, is it? Because then that's Canadian as apple pie. Walkie-talkies were actually invented in Canada as well. Don Hings invented what he called the pack set in 1937. When Canada declared war on Germany 2 years later, he went to Ottawa to redevelop the device for military use. Toronto scientists Frederick Banting, Charles Best, and James Collip didn't actually invent insulin in 1922. It's a hormone that naturally is produced by the pancreas. Instead, they discovered it and learned how it could treat diabetes. Did you know that the instant replay was actually invented by a Canadian? CBC television producer George Retzlaff used a kinescope when he created the first ever instant replay in 1955. Not surprisingly, it was during a broadcast of Hockey Night in Canada. And if you think about that, every single sport uses an instant replay or has, highlights or any of that stuff. So that's actually really cool. Robert Foulis invented a steam-powered foghorn in 1854, but died penniless because he didn't patent it. Oh man. And that's why I'm saying if you're an inventor, man, you gotta patent your shit. In 1862, Thomas Sterry Hunt invented the ink that makes U.S. green bills. John Michael Lyons of New Brunswick changed travel when he invented the first baggage tag in 1882. The revolutionary document contained information about the bag's point of departure, destination, and owner. Now that's an interesting one. I actually didn't know that one. So that means that thanks to Canadians, our bags are actually getting, from one airport to the other and not just getting lost in translation. So, that's awesome. Thank you. Engineer Sanford Fleming brought standard time to U.S. and Canadian railways in 1883. Time zones became U.S. law in 1918 and were accepted worldwide by 1929. Walter Harris Callow, a blind quadriplegic veteran, invented the first wheelchair-accessible bus in 1947. He took his first and only ride after death when his body was transported for his funeral. In 1952, engineer George Klein made the world more accessible with a motorized wheelchair. And finally, with stretchy, waterproof polyethylene at their disposal, Harry Wazelik of Manitoba and Larry Hansen of Ontario invented the first plastic garbage bag for commercial use in 1950. Union Carbide Company bought the idea and brought Glad trash bags into homes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below if you learned something new. I want you guys to please share this video on social media because today is Canada Day and we're going to be celebrating over the weekend. And I want some people to fully understand exactly why we're celebrating the beautiful country of Canada, because there's a lot of facts that I didn't even know about while I was writing this, and I was pretty shocked to find out. Peanut butter is Canadian? I didn't know that. So Canada, thank you so much. Happy birthday. You don't look a day over 151. I want you to know that I consider you the best country in the world. And thank you so much for letting me call Canada my home. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Arya Habibi. Peace out.